ప్రేమ స్వరూపులారా, విద్యార్థులారా, who am I.
Greetings, Science Scoopers. You've tuned in to your weekly booster. Your mission, should you choose to accept, is to scoop deep into your heart and reconnect. Welcome to Inside Scoop, a podcast that brings you practical servings of Swami's sweetest teachings. Joining me today is the ever insightful and charismatic Brother Vijay Dore, who is also the advisor to the National Young Adult Committee. Welcome, Ane.
Hey Nira, thank you so much for letting me participate in this amazing podcast series.
So happy
Excited
to
to be
have
here.
you here.
Yeah, likewise.
We're going to begin today's conversation by testing your Hindi a little bit, okay? I'm going to reenact something Swami said in Hindi that I found so cute, and your task is to translate it to English. Does that sound
Okay.
alright?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll give it a go.
Yep. So Swami says, Khana, Pina, Sona, Marna. And your timer starts now, Anna.
Okay, Khana, food.
Close, yeah?
Sona. I know there's a Tamil song, Sona. But okay, food, sleep. Khana,
Yes.
Pina. Oh, Pina.
Pina.
Is it to, okay. Okay, food, eat, sleep. Can I say?
What are the
okay.
other things that are associated with these?
Excrete.
No.
Okay, make friends.
No.
Marana is dead, the death.
Very good. Okay, that's 3 out of 4. I'll give you that.
Oh, what was the one I
Amazing.
missed?
So it's eat, Kana, Pina is drink,
Oh, drink.
Sona is sleep, and Marna is death. Amazing. You did fantastic.
Not bad. Hey, I didn't know that's Hindi. I thought that was Telugu.
Oh, then maybe I got it wrong. Well,
No. Anyway, yeah. But I've heard Swami say that before, I think. Yeah.
yeah. So Swami says eat, drink, sleep, and ultimately die. This is not the purpose of life. And this line by Swami has left me feeling lost at many points in life, Anna. After high school, before heading to uni, and even now having qualified as a lawyer, I'm constantly asking myself, what was I born to do? Surely it just can't be study, work, make money, have a family, and enjoy the pleasures of life. This can't be it. What's my bigger purpose? Why was I created? So my first question is, what does the word purpose mean to you?
Wow. Okay, I was hoping you would start with a simpler question. I guess I'll have to start with a disclaimer. Okay, I told myself
Sure.
I should.
Yeah.
All these thoughts that I'm going to say are mine and mine alone. It may not be the answer. I think it will raise more questions than answers, and I hope that's fine.
Perfect.
I think this is going to be a session where we find more questions together than answers.
Absolutely. That's the whole point of
Okay.
the podcast. Yeah.
Okay, so what does purpose mean to me? I often struggled with distinguishing purpose and meaning.
Mhm.
So what is the purpose of life versus what is the meaning of life?
Right.
Many would say it's the same thing, but some would say it's something completely different.
Mhm.
I settled on my own decision that the both are inseparable.
Right.
They cannot be fulfilled without each other.
Right.
And so if I allow myself to be a bit reductive and say purpose is the goal, right? The reason to be, the
Right.
what of life.
Yes, exactly.
Then the meaning of life is the experience of the journey towards that goal, the how I live my life.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that could be my definition of purpose and meaning.
So, in your view, do you think we all come with one purpose that we're born to accomplish? Or do we have multiple that are evolving over time?
Okay, so there is that overall one purpose that we always talk about in spirituality, right? Like realizing the divinity within us or merging back with God or
Right.
if maybe the Christians and Muslims will be, going to heaven.
Mm.
I think it's a lofty goal. Let's not deny it.
Yeah.
I will struggle with such goals standing alone, because they go on in a spiraling, endless question of, okay, so then what is divinity, and why all this great existence just so that we can merge back,
Right.
And then Swami said, I separated myself from myself in order that I can love myself. And wow, thanks, Swami, but what am I doing here again?
Yeah.
So I think Swami knew that. I think he would have said, there will be simple-minded folk like Vijay, and so I need to break it down.
Right.
And that's why I am more keen on the more consumable and digestible teachings. Like,
Absolutely.
okay, that in life, live in truth. In your work, practice right conduct.
Right.
With your surroundings, be non-violent.
Right.
With yourself, find peace.
Right.
From yourself, emanate only love. Those are the great 5 values of Swami. So this next step, or this next layer, is more pragmatic. It's able to be broken down to actions, reviewable by daily reflection, values that can build through our practice.
I see.
So we can also call these guiding principles. So, and to answer your question, I think yes, there can be mini life purposes as an expression of these guiding principles. So we find our guiding principle. What is it in me that I firmly believe is my principle? And this can evolve through experience and knowledge, so you can always change as you grow. Then you look at life and you define your purpose.
Right. Beautiful.
So let me give you a simple example, right?
Okay, sure.
In my life, in my university years, I did not pay much respect to time. I had not much attention to what I'm doing and how well I'm doing it.
Right.
So that obviously is a great recipe that brought considerable amount of failure to my life as a whole, during my earlier years.
Right.
But every failure has a lesson, and when the realization came, it brought a new guiding principle to my life, which was to stop wasting time, to do useful things, and to focus on the quality of whatever I do.
Right.
And that guiding principle expressed itself as my sense of purpose later on. And if I reflect back, it even became my career, where my daily purpose of my life now as a project manager is to manage scope, is to manage the quality of deliverables and the timeliness of every project my company does.
Brilliant.
So
yeah.
I think life experiences can alter your guiding principles, your philosophy of life, and that can steer your purpose. And that's what I would say.
Right. Amazing. You've really broadened my perspective on this concept of purpose. It can mean so many different things to different people, and it's not as overwhelming as we make it out to be, because it's just an extension of who you are and what's important to you. Is that right, Anil?
Yeah. And it's almost, it can play a role in every step of your way. Professor Suresh Govin had this famous thing that he used to say, in every decision, decide whether it is a binding act or a liberating act. And so, your purpose can be defined even in every instant where a choice is there.
Right.
You can define your purpose.
Right. So it's the values that drive your decision making, basically.
Yeah. Correct.
Right. So now let's dig deeper into how we can identify some of those values, or how we can express those values, okay? So common guidance is, find the sweet spot where your passion, your strengths, and a societal need intersect. But it's not always so simple, right? Can you give us some practical tips?
To finding that sweet spot?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so practical tips of how to find that calling in life. I would say, don't wait for the call. You make that call. I really like what a guy called Naval Ravikant says, and I encourage every listener to look up Naval Ravikant. He says that early as we can, we should find and build what he calls specific knowledge.
Right.
Now, what is this specific knowledge? What were you doing as a kid or a teenager? Almost effortlessly, something you didn't even consider a skill or something you're working on, but the people around you notice it. Like your mother or your father or your best friend growing up, they would know that, Neera, she's so good at this. That is like your specific skill. Before you know it, people would have noticed that. So examples are like speaking skills, for example,
Right.
like oratory skills or the ability to argue in a very structured way. That would have made you a lawyer, you know.
Right.
Musical talents, you know, do you have the ability to pick up many instruments? Are you able to, you know, identify tone easily?
Right.
Do you have an obsessive personality? You know, do you dive into many things very deeply? You know, these are all specific characteristics about a person.
Indicators.
Yeah, indicators
Yeah.
that can tell you what you're good at. So I think in your early life, if 20s, you know, 20s is a great time, and if you're feeling unsure of your path in life, I would say start making that list. What is it that which is uniquely embedded in your DNA? What
Right.
seems like play for you while others have to work to reach your level? And that's a great starting point.
I love
And
that.
many would ridicule the idea, right? Like, you know, they would say, okay, I really love and you know, what I do effortlessly is playing football. You know, how is this going to you know, build a career for me? I'm in Malaysia, you know, how is this going to put a food on the table?
Yeah, exactly.
But my answer is, you know, if you love football, you don't necessarily have to become the next Lionel Messi for Barcelona. You know,
Yeah.
you can become a sports writer. You can be a coach for a junior team. You can be a football commentator. You know, but the first step is you'll first have to list your specific knowledge or skill,
Right.
and then see
Right.
what you can do with them. You know, I think that's at least the first step. So I think what I would say is reflect a lot. You know, that
Right.
is, I think, key, because, you know, I remember my early 20s, that was the missing aspect.
Right.
Reflection and discipline. Like, have discipline in charting out your life and your future. Don't just think that I can do that tomorrow, because tomorrow will become 10 years
I see.
in no time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So, what if we found what makes us feel alive and just comes so naturally, but just say it's a corporate job, okay? And we often find ourselves thinking, hey, there's not much community impact here. I feel so like I'm not contributing to society as much as I want to. How do we deal with that internal struggle?
I don't think any job is devoid of community impact.
Mm.
Right? I think the real question is whether we have a line of sight to be able to see the impact that we are creating. And but I don't deny that, you know, if you're a small player in a large corporate job, the ability to see that is quite far away.
Right.
I would say if your strong sense of purpose is more of a direct community impact, number one, think about whether it can be done outside of your work, which is a great space which the SAI organization fills up.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
I have long not seen my the community contribution to be through my career, but it is through the SAI organization, the service work that we do, or the education work that we do. Or if you're able to, you know, why don't you quit your job and answer your calling? You know,
Yeah.
I had a friend who gave up a somewhat high-paying corporate job to become a yoga instructor in Rishikesh. That was his purpose
Wow.
calling him.
Amazing.
You know, so if you
Yeah.
could, you know, you do that. But remember the four Purusharthas that is, you know, very famous: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And Swami said they have been listed in that order on purpose,
Right.
so that Dharma or righteousness has to direct and control the process of your earning Artha or wealth. And
right.
Moksha or liberation is to be the regulating factor of your desire or karma. So before thinking about the Artha part, maybe define your Dharma. You know?
Dharma. Excellent point, Anna. I think most careers, as you said, will have some degree of social impact, and we can always support other organizations to fill that void and even create opportunities for ourselves. I mean, I think of Zini, and a fellow Sai youth who started Meatless Malaysian, a food bank that feeds the hungry during the lockdown. And she did that all by herself from her living room whilst she juggles her corporate career. So opportunities are everywhere. The question is, are we tapping into it?
Yeah.
And the way I look at it is everything we do, even if it feels like it's not service oriented, is actually service, because it is a stepping stone. That degree or that corporate job is preparing you with the skills or the knowledge, the experience, and sometimes even the finances to contribute the way we want to in the future.
Exactly.
So my next question is, if you could go back to when you were 17 years old, what would you do differently?
Okay, if you don't mind, I want to change your question a bit. Is that okay?
Sure.
So this is the Malaysian politician's way of answering a question. We change your question.
Jesus.
But you say, I won't go back to when I was 17. Why not we imagine I'm 17 now?
It's a bit hard to imagine, with all the grey hair.
Because I think there is a vast difference there, right? When I was
Right.
17, Nokia 3310 was a phone that was first launched. Okay, just to create a context here, don't laugh. The only entertainment you had on that phone when I was 17 is a game called Snake. I was a local champion for that, but that's besides the point. So
Right.
now our handphones are our life.
Yeah.
And that also means we have the current technology in the handphones also means that we have access to millions of people around the world through social media. And I say this because it changes the options available for a 17-year-old now as opposed to 20 years ago when I was 17.
Right.
So if I was 17 now, I will start thinking hard, and I come back to what I said earlier, and I'll help you link that up. I will start thinking hard about what my guiding principles are, which is my life principles. I will look to reflect and define my life in a more disciplined manner. Like I said, when I was younger, I didn't have that discipline. I would want to be more disciplined.
Yeah.
And then I'll couple these with that specific knowledge or skills that I was talking about. I'll try to think more about, hey, what is it that makes me click? My specific knowledge.
Right.
So, and then through that, if my guiding principle, for example, right, my guiding principle is always seeking truth.
Yeah.
That's it. And I'm good at stuff like analytical skills and writing. And I also know, for example, that I easily get bored in stuff.
Right.
I can see a pattern forming for me to try to become an investigative journalist. Right? Guiding principle, truth. I'm seeking the truth. I'm good at stuff like analytical skills and writing.
Yeah.
Cornerstones of being a journalist.
Right.
And I easily get bored. So I investigate, I write about it, and move to the next case. So, that's an example, right?
Right.
Like in 2001, if I baked a cake really well, the best option was still to work for a bakery or open a bakery shop.
Right.
If I was a good singer, my best hope was to get signed up by a recording label. That is not the case anymore.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think the opportunities are great now.
Absolutely, especially with Instagram and Facebook and how it's driven entrepreneurial skills. Amazing time to really explore our deepest interests and calling.
Exactly.
But what advice would you give to those of us who, we've outlined what our skills are, what we're passionate about, but they aren't so financially promising, and we have familial responsibilities to fulfill at the end of the day,
Yeah. So my advice is, or rather my opinion is that you do not know it is not financially promising yet. Or you haven't cracked the code on how to monetize on your passion, So I think on a realistic landscape, right? And I say this from knowing some successful people. If you think more and try things out in defining and redefining your purpose,
right,
by, of course, sticking to your guiding principles, building on your specific knowledge, in this digital age, I don't think you can fail easily. I don't think many companies out there knew how big they could become until they tried it out.
Yeah.
From the years of Facebook, that was maybe 10-15 years ago, to Uber, to TikTok now, it is the age of digital invention and electronic media as a free marketing tool.
Yeah.
I don't look at the past to determine your financial viability, I would say.
Right.
And the other thing I want to say about financial thing, right? I think rather than depending on an X amount of money, which is what we naturally do, we should start looking at financial independence. And financial independence, a wise man once told me, it is not having enough money to sustain the rest of your life, but having enough confidence in your ability to make money.
Right.
And that's a deep perspective change, right? So that shift in perspective can alter your whole direction in life. because dependence on money will make you trapped.
Absolutely.
Salary trap is something a lot of us are trapped in.
And might be
but-
limiting your ability to create even more creative content right?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
financial independence will give you the freedom to explore what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Absolutely.
And of course, to achieve financial independence is not easy. It takes a lot of work, right? It comes
Yeah.
back to what we spoke about earlier. There is a starting point, identifying all that makes you click, identifying your guiding principle, defining your purpose.
As you've said, Anna, there's never been a better time in history to truly, pursue our natural talents and skills. Then do you think what's holding us back is our fear of failure or lack of persistence? Like we're just playing it safe instead of investing fully in our gifts because we view it as more socially acceptable to try and fail at something that's more familiar rather than exploring something that's we're naturally good at.
We come to my favorite topic, and I say that because I'm pretty hard on myself, and at my lowest, I'll go around brooding that I've wasted a big portion of my life. Especially my wife is a big victim of that. But when I analyze that feeling and where it's all coming from, I can count 3 things that have held me back. Right? And the first is inertia.
Right.
When something continues, the whole definition of inertia is that when something continues in its existing state of rest or motion, unless acted upon an external force. So I think for long periods, you spend time without good influence or good direction. We just exist.
Right.
And if that is in your 20s, what a glorious time of growth, spent doing nothing. So I think inertia is one of the first things. And many college kids, including myself when I was in college, or young adults, sometimes go through this. The second one is fear. Fear of the unknown or fear of failure, like you pointed out. Getting out of the comfort zone, as people always say, and challenging yourself, has its merits. And this fear can rise directly proportional to commitments in the stage in life. It's much better to fail and learn when you're 18 or 17 or 18 compared to when you're 37 or 38. So I think try and fail early, and that's a good mantra to have. The last, but not the least, and very tricky one is conformance to society or even family. You did mention earlier talking about the pressure by family to go at a certain path, right? Conformance to that without deep thought and meaningful conversation can lead you in a path of not realizing your full potential.
Absolutely.
In order to be great, you must do something that people haven't done before. So you got to be standing out there, but that does require, as I said, deep thought and meaningful conversations with the people around you. Make them understand, and sometimes you'll have to break away. They will not understand until they start seeing the results. That's
Absolutely. Yeah, I think as you said, finding your purpose and living it takes a lot of courage and determination, and it's not always easy to live it. But as you alluded to in the beginning, it could be a more meaningful way to live, right?
Absolutely.
But now I am reminded of what Swami says. He says work is worship. So then, does it matter what we do? Or is the attitude and feelings in the way we do things more important? So could we be just doing the most mundane tasks, say like photocopying, but if we do it with full, complete dedication and discipline, could that also mean living purposefully?
Yeah, this is a beautiful question, and that comes back to the original point about purpose and meaning, right? Let's appreciate how beautiful that statement is. Work is worship.
Right.
And I think that ties up everything beautifully, at least from my perspective. Work is your purpose, is what you do, your reason for being.
Yeah.
And worship is the meaning you bring to it. It's how you do it. So I'll say both are important. Define your work through that guiding principles of your life. Pick your work that fulfills you, your purpose, your reason for being. Nobody's reason for being is photocopying. Right? Okay, so I say that with a bit of.
But it could be part of your reason for being. As a lawyer, we got to do heaps of photocopying, so
exactly, it could be part
Yeah.
of it, right? And it brings me to that story of this guy who goes into that village, and there are a lot of people building, just working on some construction. So he
Right.
goes to this first worker and then asks him, hey, what are you doing? He says, oh, from sunrise to sunset, my job is to put this brick and put a bit of cement and put this other brick, put a bit of cement and it's such a thankless job.
Yeah.
And then he walks a bit more and finds this other guy and I say, hey, what are you doing? He says, oh, I'm building the king's new castle. So photocopying is not a purpose, being a lawyer for your law firm is a thing. The photocopying is a small task which is leading to your greater purpose. So I think work is worship. I'll say when I say define your work, and then when you do it honestly, do it well, do it wholesomely. Kipling said in his famous poem "If." So you say, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run. That's an amazing line where, and I come back to how I lived during my college years, so many unforgiving minutes were wasted without the 60 seconds worth of distance run. And I think that is the formula for worship. So which is more important? I think both, equally, inseparably, bound together in Swami's beautiful saying, work is worship.
Beautiful, Anand. Swami has said that even Sai Gita, Swami's elephant, who is the epitome of devotion and selfless love, could only secure a human life, not moksha, when she passed away. When I heard that, it reinforced how sacred and rare this human life is. So thank you so much for reminding us to strive to fill every minute with a 60-second distance run fueled by our guiding principles. Dear listeners, it's now time for some prasadam pills when you're reflecting about your purpose. 1. Our purpose are expressions of our guiding principles, which evolve with time and knowledge, but they underpin even the smallest decisions we make. 2. Build that specific knowledge. Reflect on skills that come effortlessly and how we can express them creatively. When we put the jigsaw pieces together, the puzzle will soon fit. 3. Don't let the past measure financial viability. Strive for financial independence, which will give us the freedom and confidence to create abundance. 4. Living our purpose takes immense courage, hard work, and a willingness to challenge expectations. But this digital age is the perfect time to make it all happen. 5. Work is worship. Put your heart and soul into every task and make the most of the opportunities given to us in this precious human life. Next on Inside Scoop, we explore who Swami really is. Is he God, Guru, a highly spiritual being? Until next Friday, happy scooping!